but I think you have to look at how that is structured.
Make gifting easy with Benson and Clegg. Handcrafted cufflinks, luxury accessories, and a proper British style. Trusted since the 1930s by royalty. Get 15% off with code Karate15, exclusively for Anxious Black Belt podcast listeners. Shop now at bensonandclegg.com. Welcome to another episode of Anxious Black Belt podcast focusing on mental health, karate, and everything in between, and getting things wrong like this in introduction, meant to be other way around. But today, my good friend Don Came Sensei joined me, and we're gonna be chatting about all things karate, and not only, I think. That introduction didn't go well as I predicted, but hey ho. At least it's authentic.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to be chatting with you again, Les. Always good to speak with you, and it's nice to catch up on the podcast.
You've been recently in teaching in France, or was it Netherlands, or somewhere abroad, haven't you?
No, there's the August, September autumn camp over in France. So I was training, not teaching on that. Yeah, that was good fun. So it's sort of 3 days. It's like four seminars over 2 days. Nice to be social, spend some time catching up with people and do some training. Always good fun. Always good fun.
But you've been in somebody's daughter. I can't remember his name. John Riddle.
Johannes Regel, yeah, he's the Swedish representative. He was on the camp as well. I haven't been able to train with Johannes for a while now, but he's a good guy, and he's been putting a lot of stuff on social media because he's been teaching seminars in Stockholm and places like that where people are getting to see what we do for the first time, which is really good.
So that must have been a confusion for me seeing pictures with you, assuming that you've been there teaching.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm easily confused, so it's all right.
That's all right. We can be confused together.
And you're going to Cumbria, teaching the seminar in Cumbria.
Yeah, this weekend actually.
Yeah.
You've been there before, so you know what it's going to be like. I've never been to the area at all actually, so it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be nice to meet some new people and do some training. We're going to make a few days of it and take in the lakes for a couple of days afterwards. So it's going to be a nice weekend, providing the weather holds out. You know, we're looking at rain and potential snow, but other than that, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, when I was there, it was raining as well. So I went for a quick walk, which turned out to be very, very short because it was raining upwards. So but Mark and his team are lovely, super lovely people, and super open-minded dojo, and he does a great job inviting people and sharing the different viewpoints on karate to his students, which I think we need more people like that around.
Yeah, definitely.
Who are not afraid to, who don't afraid to bring people in, and I might lose my students. It's just like you bring everybody and share the knowledge. So it's awesome stuff. Shall we chat about your health conditions, or should we?
We can chat about it for sure.
Yeah, I'm interested. I picked up some injury trying to establish what it is at the moment, but the arm is painful. And I was thinking in relation to injuries and health conditions, and how kind of mentally you adjust yourself to the reality, because you had it and not a simple one, but something that might be actually quite serious, right?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, the thing about anything like that, I mean, basically I had what they call an atrial fibrillation. That means that the heart misfires. It's really tiring. Ended up in A&E. And it was I'd had a number of smaller episodes building up to the big one. The big one was 15 hours. Heart rate was hitting 178. and I was felt like I'd done like marathons back to back. I was absolutely exhausted afterwards. It just really, really wiped me out. And that was probably a bigger shock than the actual incident itself. Apparently, not uncommon for people of air brackets here my age. It's quite a common condition. It's a misfiring, and so what they basically, you've got a couple of options. You can take tablets, you can take beta blockers, and you can take blood thinners. They've told me that actually that's because my blood pressure is good, my resting heart rate is good. I don't need to do that, but they wanted me to take. Then they said the options were take a tablet when I have an incident. If they're going to work, they said there's a sort of 75-80% chance it will work. I'll know within sort of 20 minutes of an attack that because if it works, it stops. If it doesn't work, it carries on going. And they said if it carries on going and the attacks get more frequent, then they do something called an ablation, which means that they basically have to they burn or sort of char some of the veins that send the signals so that it doesn't transmit the signals. And again, they said that that's something that is, sort of, I think he quoted something like 80% effective for most people, but not, none of them's 100% effective. So I said to them that I didn't want to do that. I would do the tablet and see how that works. But then saying that, I haven't had an attack in 2 months. I sort of looked at I've never eaten that unhealthily, but I was overweight. I was carrying an extra couple of stone that I didn't really need. So I figured, okay, well, let's be sensible about this. I'm going to be sensible about how I eat, and I'll lose a little bit of weight, see what effect that has. And thankfully, I don't know if it's connected with that, but I've lost sort of just under 2 stone in weight in the past sort of 8 to 10 weeks, and feeling better for that, feeling more mobile. So a lot of pluses anyway, which is really good. And I was sort of tipping the scales at 17 stone at one point, and I'm back to now down to sort of just over 15. So 15 is my sort of, for want of a better term, my fighting weight. So 15 is good. So I feel okay with that. And as I said, I haven't had an attack in 2 months. So fingers crossed, it's going the right way. If I have an attack, I'll take the tablets. In the meantime, I just carry on doing what I do. I go to the gym. I do karate every day. I'll do some sort of cardio most days, mainly in the form of walking. Running my knees don't really like running. My back doesn't like running anymore. So that's sort of gone out the window, and I just do walks instead. But that seems to be doing the job. So all in all, in a good place physically. So it's all good. It's all good.
That's good to hear that you have a break from those, and hopefully they're gonna not come back with all the adjustments you made it. Did you make a much of an adjustment into how you train and more thoughtful about training, and maybe you've been training too hard or something like that?
That's an interesting one, really. I think that as we get older, we should look at the way we train anyway. If I was still training the way I did in my 20s, I'd be asking for trouble, I think. My bits and pieces of my body are starting to wear out, joints and so knees, shoulders, back issues. No, not back issues. I had a prolapse disc many, many years ago, and it's obviously still there. But the back's nice and strong. I say the movement's quite strong. And but you have to train more sensibly. I don't think you necessarily have to train with less intensity. I think you just have to train more mindfully. Whereas when we were younger, we can sort of recover very, very quickly from injuries. I think you're not as old as me anywhere near, but I think even you will acknowledge that injuries that you had when you were in your teens and early 20s, sort of brushed aside, didn't worry about. But now you're sort of showing the signs of those injuries. You know that you're carrying those injuries, and you have to train sensibly to allow you to continue to do what you do.
Yes, that's the very annoying point of getting older. That you think, and it takes a long time to realize and fight off the 20-year-old trapped in the mind, in the body, who
Yeah,
wants to go. Yes, we can do that. We can do
yeah.
that, and then you're paying for it a month, 2 months, 3 months. Oh,
Well, when I
yeah.
was younger, and particularly if we're talking about things like resistance training, you train so hard that you can't actually do anything, can't even move properly for like 2 or 3
Mm,
days afterwards. So you actually lose 2 or 3 days worth of training.
yeah.
So you modify the intensity. So you can still train hard, and your body sort of adapts to it over time. But you want to be able to do something every day. It may not necessarily be the same thing, but you want to be able to do something every day. And if you're so wiped out from doing a training session that you literally can't move properly for like 2 or 3 days, that's counterproductive.
Mm.
You're better off lowering the intensity a little bit and actually being able to train consecutively throughout the week, each day throughout the week, because you're going to get better results.
I think that the most of the sports and even karate moved away from that methodology because in the old days, well, old days, I don't remember that old days, but still in 80s, 90s, you
Hmm.
had that mentality that do more, do that 1,000 kicks. If you cannot do 1,000 kicks, do 2,000 kicks. And that's just pushing through uh the mental barriers, right? Overcoming the mental barriers and physical barriers by
Yeah.
pushing more and more. And now
And
if
there's
you
a
speak,
place for that. There is a place for that, but it's not constantly. I think we
mm,
have to push ourselves to get that mental stimulation. We have to sort of learn to develop that mental fortitude. But again, that's not something that necessarily we have to do every day that we train.
mm.
I
But
think
that
it's
was good.
something that has to be part of our training, but it has to be, again, maybe that's something that has come out of being older, um,
Mm,
and approaching the way I train slightly differently. You still need to sort of develop that mental strength, but again, it's something you need to think, okay, if I'm going to build that into what I'm doing, then it needs to be part of a progressive training program, because you don't develop skill when you are exhausted. If you want to develop skill, you need to do it while you're still relatively fresh,
mm.
because all skill deteriorates the more tired we get. So you have to. I don't tend to like the term do periodization in your training, but you do want to train for specific uh, goals. So
Mm.
if you've got a specific end in sight, if it's skill development, then it's not about fatigue. You need to train the techniques where the body can and give yourself recovery. One of the things that I think we do when you're probably the same. When we first started, we were doing sort of 2 hour plus classes.
Mm.
And often, if there was sort of beginners classes, intermediates, or senior classes, you'd actually you'd be there for both. So you'd sort of be there from beginning through to the end.
Mm.
And I think that what we need to do is not necessarily reduce the amount of time, but just think about how we structure our training within that time more intelligently to allow us to get us a better sense of what we're doing and how we're developing that skill, and also a way of measuring that skill, that performance of that skill, working on those internal connections. Harder, faster, stronger all the time is not conducive to developing a good skill base.
Why you
Yes,
don't
we
like
want to be
the
strong.
why you don't like the periodization? I think it's a
I've
brilliant
done,
tool.
not that I don't like it. I think as martial artists, if you're talking about a competitive athlete,
Mm.
I think it's very worthwhile. I think you've got to know your seasons and you have to train accordingly. I think that makes a huge amount of sense.
Mm.
But I think if we're talking about people who are martial artists or practitioners of the martial arts who are doing it week in, week out, they're not interested in competition, they're not really looking at the sports side of it so much, then I think it has less importance. I'm not saying we shouldn't sort of look at it, but I'm only sort of I'm not slagging it off at all. I think it's a very worthwhile tool, but I think you have to understand what that tool is and how you want to apply it to the way that you train.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think that often we don't. We look at what other people do. And, you know what the thing is. We look at social media. We look at things like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and we see all these videos. And it's like the latest zeitgeist is, oh, I've got to train like this. It's all about mobility training. Oh no, it's about strength, or it's about this. It's about So I think that we can lose sight of what we're trying to do, and often we're better served by just sticking to what we do and working on improving and progressing what we do. And if somebody gives us a better way to do something, then we'd be foolish not to take it on board. But I think periodization is great. And I think it has a place in all sorts of training, whether you're talking about traditional martial arts or talking about sport. But I think you have to look at how that is structured. So, I mean, periodization could be, from your point of view or my point of view, is okay. I do, I might primarily focus on strength training on one day, and I might do more sort of endurance stuff the following day, and over the course of the week, you end up covering your bases, and that's something that you want to be able to repeat. But I think that what we want to do is have some core element that is a stable base throughout, from beginning to end. So if your goal is improving your karate, I think that what you need to be doing is looking at the karate skills and building the other things around that. That's our core. I mean, that's what we want to be trying to do. It's not just about getting bigger and stronger. If bigger and stronger is counterproductive to your karate skill base, then why are you doing it? If you end up spending twice as much time in the gym lifting weights as you do doing your karate, why are you doing that? So I think you have to look at what you're trying to achieve. Look at what you're trying and think long-term goals. Yeah, you certainly have short-term interim goals or targets, but think about what is the long-term goal? What am I really trying to do with this? And I think for many years I never used to sort of think of it like this, but now I do, and I think it's because as we get older, we start to appreciate that, well, actually, how much time have we got to work on these skills? So we want to make sure that we're getting as much out of that as we possibly can. And also, it's fun. I think, anyone who's been in martial arts as long as we have, isn't just doing it for self-defense and not just doing it for sport. It's actually becomes a part of us, if that doesn't sound sort of too trite or wishy-washy. It's part of what we do. It's part of our coping mechanisms for life as well, and that's really, really important. And to do that, we need to be able to keep doing it. And if we want to keep doing it, then we have to train sensibly.
Yeah, very wise words, and I agree with everything. And yeah, when I'm looking on I kind of stop now looking so much on social media. I just post and disappear. It's healthier option. But when you're seeing all the fads coming in with the like fitness industry, more I look at them, the more I'm going towards a more classical training. Just do what works instead of going and chasing a newest baby on the market. Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I've got the routines that work for me. I stick to them. I'm gonna do, like you said, I'm not gonna be a CrossFit newest challenger on a market going and winning anything. That is not my interest. Be a bit too old for that, I think. And it's not something that I want to pursue. So everything's sensible.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, do what you do and just do it to the best of your ability. Look to improve it. But what's the old saying? A dog can't chase two rabbits at the same time. So know what you want to achieve, and just and work towards it. Work towards it. Don't be distracted by sort of shiny objects. If we get good at what we do, it's because we put the time in not because we're constantly changing direction. You want to try and sort of limit this desire to constantly be doing something else. I think you've also got to try and control this urge to be good at something immediately. We really need to. I can't remember who said it, but somebody posted something like, "Learn to embrace the suck." Okay, accept the fact that you're not good at something and work towards getting better at it. Okay, if we accept the fact that we get good because we fail at things. We keep on doing it. We analyze it. We come back and we do it again. If we keep on doing the same thing over and over again, and we don't learn from that, and we keep on making the same mistakes, then we're not going to get any better. So it has to be mindful practice. You have to know what you're trying to achieve with that practice. It's not just about making something look good, although there's an element of that in martial arts. It's an art after all, and I think and the fact that it looks nice is good. But that's sort of the less well, no, people disagree with me, I'm sure, but sort of less important than it is about how it feels to you. You got to know your techniques from the inside out, and that takes time. You got to be patient. You got to have feedback. You got to have good people to train with, and you've got to work constantly, be accepting criticism in the sense of constructive. Any criticism should be constructive. We know that on social media, too many people are prepared to turn around and say something's rubbish, but they won't actually say, well, actually, I would do it like this. What do you think? And open up a conversation. And I think if we had people who were a little bit more willing to discuss things and offer up alternatives, then we could see everyone's martial arts moving forwards. Not all movements suit all people, do they? I mean, you and I are very different builds. I'm a little bit taller than you, look quite a lot older than you, and probably we have a different list of injuries that would sort of impact on the way that we do things. But we can still work together, and we can still sort of look at things from a constructive point of view, and take the good stuff. And if some stuff doesn't work for us, I think sometimes people are too eager to drop techniques, saying they don't work for them. When if you look at how somebody does something, take yourself as an example. If I look at the way you do something, it may not be the way I do it, but I can see why something works. I can look at it and say, yeah, you can make it work. That's fine. And if you can make it work, then there's no reason I can't make it work, providing I find, we talked about this previously on one of our other chats. We talked about pathways and line of best fit. We might be doing the same technique, but you and I would actually have a slightly different line of best fit depending on who we're working with. So it's actually knowing the technique well enough to allow us to explore that line of best fit. I think we've got to deepen people's understanding of their art. And I think it's too easy to say, okay, that's the way my teacher did this, so that means I have to do it exactly the same way. There are parameters that allow us to do things slightly differently because we're built differently. So we are going to be moving. We might use the same structure. So, if you and I did a knife hand, for example, people would look at it and say, oh, he's doing a knife hand. Oh, yeah, those are doing a knife hand. But we might do it differently. We might apply it differently, but it's still identifiable. Look at two people from the same dojo doing the same kata. They will do it differently. It doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. If the structural integrity is there, then it's not wrong. If there's a structural difference that is not in line with the association's way of doing it, then you could say that's not how we do it within our association. Although I think that's probably a little bit short-sighted of people saying that, because it has to fit the individual. It's not a case of we make the person fit karate, we make karate fit the person.
Which makes me always wonder how much time been wasted conforming people to one style so they look
Mhm.
identical. How much
Yeah.
farther the students could be if they've been allowed to have that freedom to express the movement in a different way than being conforming to that, pushed into that box, for 10, 20 years to be doing the basics exactly the same
Mhm.
because their elbow be flaring a little bit more or their foot was pointing wrong way. And how
Yeah.
much time would that waste instead of allowing them? Okay, well, it's like my example always, and I've been thinking about it quite a lot. Teaching Danny because I do one-to-one with him,
Mhm.
and because of his disability, he doesn't put feet like we do. There's
Mhm.
always a little bit different angles. He does the same positioning, like let's say Zenkutsudachi, but on every step, the feet are differently. And his brain cannot compute to put to one confirmed position, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So eventually, I had a period of time when I was like, no, I must teach him. I must him teaching to do this properly. And after a couple of years, I felt like, why am I wasting my time and his time when his body just doesn't doesn't do that? He needs to be operating in the natural stances. And then I thought,
Yes.
every time when I'm looking at the old masters, they are all in all over the place with the stances. They're moving their feet how they want. It moves so it's comfortable, right? So
Yeah.
comfort trumps the pattern, I think. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that we can be over fixated on things have to look just so.
Mm.
Again, that's sort of the art emphasis on it, isn't it? But if we're talking about functional movement for sure, you can't be uncomfortable in your stance. You've got to be comfortable. You've got to, I mean, most of the time when we look at stance structures, where primarily it's about where's the weight. I mean, that's
Mm.
probably the most important thing. Yes, there's certain parameters again that you stay within the sort of the guideline of Zenko Sadachi being hip width wide, shoulder width wide to shoulder width long is a guideline. It's saying, again, different styles say different things. You could say 70% of the way in the front leg,
Yeah.
30% in the front. Some say 60-40. Some say 75, um, 25. And so it changes, but it's a guide. It's a guide. And I think that in some ways, certainly from the point of view, if we're looking at movement and applied movement, working against external forces, an opponent or partner, training partner, then we have to understand that actually the weight distribution is telling us a certain amount about what the technique does. I think if we make sure when people do, I see some of my guys have got hip, knee issues, back issues. So we'll see shorter versions of the stance. We'll see slightly narrower versions of the stance. The one thing I would say is that you don't want to make the stances too uh, mechanical. If they're too long, too low, it makes it very hard to move. If a stance makes it hard to move from point A to point B, then the stance isn't doing anything for you. A stance is a transition, it's part of movement. It's only sort of that fixed moment in time for that sort of snapshot moment. And then we've got to be able to move. And if we can't move smoothly and from one position to the next, we can't move quickly from one position to the next. So our stances have to accommodate that. I think what we do have to look at is individuals' structures. So we would accommodate our stances. So the stance has to suit the person. Um, so we don't want any sort of collapses in it. We don't want to see that they're stressing the knee or they're stressing the back. So the alignments have to allow us. The length and width of the stance has to allow the practitioner to get a good stable base, feel strong, feel balanced, and have the ability to move. And I think we too often go to textbook and say, okay, well, no, we've got to have this width, we've got to have this length, that back foot's got to be turned at this angle, the front foot has to be toes forwards, your tailbone wants to be dropped, your shoulders have to be over here. And so, yes, certainly there's certain aspects of that which are always going to apply. But I think we have to, as teachers, we have to be able to adapt what is being taught to suit the student. And obviously, the bigger the classes, the harder that is to achieve. But so which is why we don't teach huge classes, and also because we don't get the huge classes. But I think that it has to fit. It has to fit. It has to be comfortable. It has to challenge. You are going to challenge. You are going to improve mobility. You are going to improve strength. You are going to improve delivery. You're going to improve that whole sort of, for want of a better word, an overused phrase, the kinetic chain. We want to understand the kinetic chain and the principle of movement, how to generate that movement, how to generate power through that movement. But it has to suit the individual.
Plus, karate lives in between stances, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Every
Yeah.
interesting thing happens between when you're
Yeah,
moving,
yeah,
not when you're standing there.
yeah. All the good bits are in between point A and point B. When I try and say to people when they do their kata, for example, I say, look, you've got to think in terms of when we do kata, look at the stop moments. Look at those moments between the techniques, and understand why we stop. Why we stop is because that moment in time, we need to make sure there's a structural integrity to that movement. So that means that the performer can assess it and know that they're structurally sound. It means that the teacher can look at that position and say, yes, they're structurally sound.
Mm.
Obviously, when we look at that in application as a functional movement, applied movement, that pause isn't there. It was never meant to be there when we apply it. It's only there as a teaching aid. So it's a key moment through the sequence that
Mm.
allows us to pick up and identify any weaknesses in the structure. And if we can identify the weaknesses and remove those weaknesses, then we can go back to doing the movement as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. It's far easier when you said about the big groups, right? It's far easier to assess people when they're doing everything in the same way because you just look and you don't look on people who do incorrectly, but you're spotting those who do incorrectly. It's
Mm.
easier to pick them up from the conformity of a form, right? If you
Yeah,
allow everybody doing their independent work, then you would
mm.
have to have a 20, 30 instructors more, and
Yeah,
then every instructor is different, and
yeah.
then you're losing your organization because everybody does something different.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember when I first started, uh, I'm sure most people who started back in the 70s, so even into the 80s, maybe and beyond, we're very used to having people turn around and tell us that something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not right. But we weren't often told how to do it right. We were told it was wrong, and we're left to try and figure out, well, if that's wrong, what's right? Um, yeah, so I think one thing that has definitely improved in teaching as time has evolved is that people are more constructive in the way that they teach now.
Mm.
People teach rather than just treat it like a military exercise where you're drilling by numbers, repeat. Now we're actually seeing people out there who are breaking movements down and working with their students and allowing them to sort of get a better feel for the movement, understand the movement. And say, when you used to be in a front stance and somebody comes up and kicks your back leg saying, um, stance is wrong, boom, go kick the back leg out. You go, okay, what do I do to put it right? But we're still here, we're still doing it.
Mm.
And hopefully we don't repeat the same mistakes that our teachers made with us when they were teaching us. So we should sort of, in a way, look at the way we were. And then, we some great martial artists, but the teaching side of it maybe wasn't so well developed or understood, so well understood. I think that we've got a lot better with that, with people like yourself teaching, a lot of good seminar instructors out there now, good teachers out there now who are not just good at what they do. They've got good skill levels, but they're also very good teachers.
Mm,
And I think that's really quite exciting. And I think one of the things that possibly has come out of the you know the uh, the growth of people interested in applied karate, whether you're talking about it from a self-defense point of view or not, is that we're starting to understand that actually what is very important in what we do is that interaction.
mm,
So it's not even when we do it as a solo form, we are assessing and thinking about how it works, what is the function of this movement, how does it feel, what does it do, rather than just the aesthetic of the movement. And I think that's a movement that I'm really sort of pleased to see. So it's not just about making it look good; it's actually about understanding what you're doing with it, and I think that's really important.
I think mo most of the people realize now that actually teaching is a separate skill than being a
Mm,
martial artist. And I always had the kind of pushback on this, but you don't need to be a great martial artist to teach martial arts. It's
hmm
like that's only martial arts. It's kind of that notion that, oh, you teaching martial arts, you must be able to do everything you do. But you look on football, you've got
mm.
the coaches who never played. You look
Yeah,
at boxing, you've got the coaches who just been good in analyzing stuff, but never been a good boxers. But in
yeah,
karate is that push that, oh, if you want to teach kicking high, you need to kick high. If you want to be fighting, you must fighting. It's
mm,
kind of that notion which is a bit annoying, but I think more and more people now with a access to educational material through the internet and stuff, people
yeah,
can do themselves realize like, hey, I need to upskill my knowledge. I
yeah,
go for a course and I'm learning how to be teacher.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I think we need to take on board stuff from outside of our relevant disciplines. If we look at the way things are taught, it doesn't just have to be physical skills taught. I mean, teaching is all sorts of things. Whether you're teaching language, whether you're teaching science, whether you're teaching a physical skill, there's certain things we need to be able to do to pass that information across. And I think that it's good that people are exploring that and adopting that cross discipline. It's good that we're taking um, stuff from sports and bringing it into karate from a teaching point of view. It's good that we're not staying so blinkered that we can't sort of see outside the box. I think that's really, really good. I mean, I put together initially for my students, we did what we call a Beyond Basics,
Mhm.
the online resource, and that was aimed first and foremost at the guys who train with me to allow them to sort of explore the different techniques uh, from the syllabus, from the kata, from the kion, and apply that. So it's got something they can look at when they're at home. So it's sort of a homework base, I guess you would call it. And then a few people outside of it of our dojo have expressed interest, and a few people signed up for it. But the idea is to just basically give people something to work from at home to supplement their dojo training, irrespective of what grade they are. It doesn't really matter. So from beginner through to sort of senior grades can all use the online program. And hopefully they can use it either to help structure session plans, either for a class or for their own home training, um, to supplement to supplement their dojo training.
Is that available
So
online?
available online, yeah, yeah. So you
I
got it's
check the banner above to get one. Sign up yourselves.
Yeah. So the idea is to break the techniques down. So what we've done is we've broken it down into Q grades. So each grade has been broken down into three blocks. So we've got ninth, seventh, and eighth Q as the sort of first module. We've got sixth through to fourth as the second module, and we've got third through to first Q as a third module. We've got kata modules on there as well. So there's a lot of information, and most of the videos are sort of bite-sized. We're talking about anything between sort of 1 and 3 minutes. So even if people only get the chance to sit down and watch a couple of videos and work through those, there's a lot of information there that actually hopefully allows them to explore the techniques maybe from a slightly different perspective than they might be receiving, the level of tuition they might be receiving in their dojo. So it gives them slightly a deeper, hopefully a deeper look at what the possibilities are for those techniques. Yeah, so it was good fun. It was a good process doing it, getting it filmed, and finally getting it up and running, which was quite a challenge. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, I need to redo mine Q grading as well, syllabus, because we
Yeah.
completely changed what it is, and we've got available for free on our website, on our shop. But yeah, it's irrelevant now because we we abandoned most of the stuff and changed it completely. So I need to
Yeah. Well,
start
that's why I
recording
thought
new
it's
one.
a good idea to block it into sort of 3 grades. So if you sort of changing stuff around, so rather than think about, okay, this is what you have to do for ninth skill, this is it's not really, that's not its purpose, because everyone's particularly if they're, I mean, it's fine if they're training with me because they know that's what our syllabus is, but if they're training elsewhere, their syllabus is going to be different. So what it is, it's about the techniques. So all the breakdown is a guide. Say, okay, this is the sort of stuff we'll be looking at these grades. This is the sort of stuff we'll be looking at in these grades, and so on, and so on and so forth throughout. Yeah, so feedback's been really good on it so far, so it's really nice. And there's new stuff going on there every month as well. So we're constantly putting new material on there, which is good
Excellent.
fun.
Don, I'm gonna have to finish because I need to grab kids from school.
Excellent. Good to talk to you as always.
Thank you very much for joining me. I'm gonna put the links in description below for those who listen, and there's gonna be links popping up through the video so you can grab Don's stuff, my stuff, and educate yourself and level up your karate.
And you have to come and train with us again. Whoever's watching this, come and train with me and Les next time we're teaching together.
Yeah. All right. Thank you
Which
very
won't be
much.
long. All
Yep.
right.
Soon.
Take care.
Take
Love to
care.
your family, and I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.